Minnie Beets has been the financial backbone of the largest family-owned gold mining operation in the Yukon for over 40 years. She controls every dollar that flows through Tamarack Incorporated, a company sitting on 337 placer claims across the Klondike. Their operation has turned over $30 million worth of gold in just 7 years, and get this, the woman managing all of that started out flipping burgers in a Dawson City hamburger joint. When we were super young, Dad used to take off every winter to work and of course mine every summer. And Mom would have 2 or 3 jobs. We used to live down the hill, that way Johnny didn't have to drive into town and we could see him at the end of the day. The life many lived before Gold Rush, from a 400-person Dutch village to the frozen gold fields of the Yukon, is a story the show barely scratches. I come home one time and he goes, "Well, I'm going to Canada." I go, "Oh, yeah." He says, "Yeah." Well, I says, "So, when are we going?" Because he thought he was going to go by himself. I go, "No, no, no, no. That's not how that works." So then from then on we started planning it together. She buried a child, built an empire from nothing, held a family together through decades of brutal conditions, and somehow became the only human being on the planet that Tony Beets can't say no to. This is the real story they never told you. From Holland to the Klondike. Minnie Beets was born in 1960 in Berg, a village in the Friesland province of the Netherlands with a population of about 400 people. Her parents ran a bakery. She was one of 5 children. Life was small, quiet, and predictable. Then a 7-year-old boy named Tony Beets moved in next door. Minnie was 6 at the time that in an interview with Monsters and Critics, she recalled the moment clearly. "First of all, I met Tony on the street about 55 to 56 years ago. He moved into the neighborhood when he was 7 and I was 6. We lived in Holland in the Netherlands. That's where it started. 2 farm kids in a tiny Dutch village. Nobody in that neighborhood had any idea those 2 would end up running one of the most successful gold mining operations in Canadian history. They started dating when Minnie was 20. Married a few years later around 1984. And then came the decision that would change everything. Tony had grown skeptical about the future of agriculture in the Netherlands. He'd heard through the grapevine that workers in the Yukon were earning $1,000 a week in the mines, the equivalent of over $3,000 today. That was it. The lights came on. Tony wanted to go to Canada. We heard about the Yukon like 2 months after we came to Canada, and we heard you could make good money there. So Tony went in March of 1981. Here's the catch: Minnie didn't just agree to the move. She threw herself into it completely. They immigrated to Canada with almost nothing. Tony first landed in Alberta, then British Columbia, where he worked on a dairy farm near Salmon Arm. But farming wasn't ever the plan. The real money was up north. Tony moved to Whitehorse, then to Dawson City, and started working as a machine operator in someone else's gold mine. He was 25 years old. He never looked back. For the first several years in Dawson, Minnie did whatever it took to keep the family afloat while Tony was building the mining operation from the ground up. She worked in home healthcare for 13 years. She worked in retail. And then she bought and managed a hamburger restaurant in Dawson City. Not just worked at it, but owned and ran the business herself. She was already an entrepreneur before anyone ever called her one. That it's not that simple, though, because while Minnie was grinding through those early years in Dawson, she and Tony were also starting a family in one of the most isolated regions in North America. Kevin was born in 1988. Mike in 1990. Then came Jasmine in 1992. And this is where the story takes a turn that the show almost never talks about. Jasmine Beets died on March 1, 1993. She was not even 3 months old. The cause was a chromosomal abnormality. She was born with an extra chromosome that ultimately took her life. Tony carries a jasmine flower tattoo on his hand with her birth and death dates. That ink has been visible in hundreds of episodes of Gold Rush. Most viewers have no idea what it means. They see it in the close-up shots during gold weigh-ins when Tony's hands are cupping the pan, and they never think twice about it. After Jasmine's death, Monica was born later in 1993, and Bianca followed, 5 children total. One gone before she could even reach her first spring, and Minnie kept going. She didn't collapse. She didn't leave. She raised 4 surviving kids in one of the most remote and demanding environments in North America, where winter temperatures plunged to -40. The nearest major city is a bush plane ride away. And the mining season swallows every waking hour for 7 months straight. The Beets children didn't get special treatment either. Tony and Minnie ran their household the way they ran their mine. You work. You earn. The kids started working as soon as they were tall enough to reach the pedals on a machine. Monica bought her first car at 15 with her own money. Kevin paid his own college tuition. Mike bought a house on his own earnings. That's how Minnie raised them. No shortcuts. No handouts. Eventually, she moved into the role that would define her career, bookkeeper for Tony's mining company, Tamarack Incorporated. I was always boss there already. Minnie did all the paper. I did all the books already. But we kind of ran it like our own. They left us alone and the guy owned me, buy and done deal. For over a decade, she has managed the finances of the entire Beets operation from Paradise Hill. That means tracking every ounce of gold that comes out of the ground, managing payroll for a crew that fluctuates season to season, handling licensing fees, equipment costs, fuel bills, and making sure the family's mining empire doesn't spend more than it earns, which, with Tony at the helm, is a full-time battle. The Beets family first appeared on Gold Rush in Season 2, which debuted in 2010. Since then, Minnie has appeared in over 185 episodes across Gold Rush, The Dirt, Gold Rush, Winter's Fortune, and Gold Rush, White Water. She's been on camera more than most reality TV stars ever dream of, and yet, the average viewer still couldn't tell you what she actually does. But that was the first time you were on Gold Rush. Yeah, I was. Because you were a consultant the first year, because remember they look for somebody. Yeah, they were looking for an idiot. Look what they came up with. But that's correct. They found them. Yeah, they found them. Discovery Channel's official bio puts it simply, the backbone of the family mining operation. And then adds something that anyone who watches Gold Rush already knows. She is the only person Tony can't say no to, the empire behind the scenes. Everyone's obsessed with Tony Beets, the gruff Dutchman who swears at everything, buys 75-year-old dredges for fun, and somehow keeps pulling thousands of ounces of gold out of the frozen Canadian earth every single year. But the person making sure that operation doesn't collapse financially? That's Minnie. The scale of what she manages is staggering. Tamarack Incorporated holds 337 placer claims across the Klondike region. Their primary operation at Paradise Hill has been running for over 25 years. They also mine Indian River, Scribner Creek, and Eureka Creek. In Season 16 alone, the current season airing right now, Tony set a goal of 6,500 ounces of gold worth upwards of $22 million at today's prices. By mid-season, he'd already banked over $11 million. There's more than ever before. And with the prices after today, that is significant money, right? I'm pretty happy with that. How about you, Minnie? Yeah, I'm happy. The numbers from past seasons tell the story of the scale Minnie has to manage. In Season 8, Tony pulled 3,659 ounces from Eureka Creek, $4.39 million. In Season 10, he fell short of his 6,000-ounce goal but still came in at just under 4,400 ounces. Season 15 saw a single week at Indian River earn over $750,000. These aren't just big numbers. They're numbers with massive operational costs behind them: fuel, payroll, equipment maintenance, licensing fees, environmental compliance. Someone has to make sure more money comes out of the ground than goes in. That someone is Minnie. The crazy part is the equipment alone. Tony is famous for buying massive, expensive machinery, vintage dredges, wash plants worth $500,000, fleets of rock trucks, dozers, and excavators. In Season 16, he unveiled a brand new state-of-the-art wash plant for Monica valued at $500,000, equipped with a massive hopper, high-pressure jets, and hydraulic steel fingers to separate gold from waste dirt. One of his boldest moves was purchasing and restoring the historic Walter Johnson dredge in 2015, a 75-year-old machine originally built in California, shipped to the Yukon, and used for only 6 mining seasons before being abandoned. That project alone consumed an entire season of gold rush and required an investment that most mining companies wouldn't risk. Minnie fought him on it. She fights him on most of these purchases. She's known for arguing with Tony over the fortune he pours into his dredges. And the show has captured those arguments on camera more than once. And here's the thing, she's usually right. When Tony's dredge at Eureka Creek underperformed in Season 6, pulling only 737 ounces against a 900-ounce goal, it was a direct hit to the bottom line. Minnie sees those numbers. She lives with those numbers, but managing money is only half of what Minnie does for this operation. She also raised the workforce. 3 of the 4 surviving Beets children work in the family business. Kevin runs the mechanical side of the camp and is now in his 2nd season as a mine boss at Scribner Creek. I got big plans to set up a gold mine and run it my way. We do have a 1,000-ounce goal. This is a big gamble, so me and Faith have to make this work. Mike operates dozers and manages crew at Paradise Hill and Indian River. Monica, hands down the most visible of the Beets kids on the show, started operating heavy equipment at age 12 and was supervising a crew of men by 18. She now runs her own wash plant with an all-female crew. Monica has been open about her mother's influence. In an interview with Monsters and Critics, she said, "Mom is a great role model. She doesn't take from anybody, which is great, especially in a really male-oriented workforce. You have to have that attitude." When asked whether Minnie is the secret weapon behind the Beets operation, Tony gave a characteristic answer: "It's a 50-50 game, lady. But the fans see it differently. As one Reddit user put it, she is the driving force of the Beets family. I'm sure she is the boss at home, and Tony does everything she says." Another agreed, "Tony gets all the credit, but it's Minnie that keeps the show on the road, keeping Tony from spending a fortune on his ideas." Even now in Season 16, Minnie's presence is still being felt on screen. When Mike struggled under the pressure of running Paradise Hill after Tony pulled half his crew and equipment for Indian River, it was Minnie he turned to. She told him he needed to find his own path like his brother Kevin had done. Not the advice of a passive bystander, the advice of someone who understands every moving piece of the operation. The 4th child, Bianca, chose a different path entirely. She wanted privacy and didn't want to be filmed. Monica confirmed this publicly in 2016. Bianca now lives quietly in Canada, away from the cameras, but she gave Tony and Minnie their first grandchild, a boy named Egan, and here's where the family legacy goes to a 3rd generation. Egan, now 18, has been running machinery under Tony's watch since he was 13. They've got home video footage of the kid learning the ropes at the controls. "Morning, Egan." "Morning. How are you today?" "Good. Are you ready to go to work? Sure. In a recent season 16 episode, he drove an excavator 20 miles over 10 hours to deliver it to Indian River when the lowboy broke down. Tony called him the youngest and best excavator driver he's got. Monica also has a daughter, a baby girl named Jasmine, born in 2019. Named after the sister who never got to grow up, that name choice tells you everything you need to know about what this family carries. 3 generations of Beets, all connected to the same gold-bearing ground, and the woman who held it all together from the beginning? She's still there, still managing the books, still controlling the purse strings, still the one person Tony listens to. The cost of the Klondike. The Klondike doesn't care about your family. It doesn't care about your TV show. It will freeze your equipment solid, flood your cuts with spring water, and bury your season under 6 feet of permafrost if you let your guard down for a single day. Minnie has lived in that reality for over 40 years, the physical toll alone is staggering. Mining season in the Yukon runs roughly 7 months. During that stretch, the Beets operation runs 24 hours a day. Temperatures during spring startup can still be well below freezing. By late summer, wildfire smoke chokes the valley. Season 16 has shown wildfires burning across the Yukon, pushing every crew to run harder while conditions deteriorate. Minnie once described their lifestyle balance in an interview: "I think we have the perfect life. We work 7 months and then we are off for 5. It's great." Tony added, "Right now, we're sitting in Mexico on the beach, so we're not complaining." But it's not that simple, though. Those 5 months off come after 7 months of relentless, grinding pressure. Equipment breaks constantly. In season 16 alone, a burned wire shut down Tony's wash plant, Sluicifer, for 4 days, costing an estimated $340,000 in lost production. What do you got? So, one of the main wires is like the motor's out. At least we got the problem. We got the motor. Hey, I hope you get it done. Cracked tailing chutes needed emergency welding. A water flood blockaded a culvert at Indian River and required immediate excavation, and those are just the mechanical problems. The human problems are worse. Tony hired 10 new workers for his corner cut expansion. 2 of them had to be removed within days. One for repeated errors, another for drinking on the job. Tony's cousin Mike caught the guy driving erratically in a rock truck and pulled him out. Tony fired him on the spot. When you're moving hundreds of tons of earth per day with heavy machinery, one impaired operator can kill someone. Minnie watches all of this. She doesn't just see the gold totals. She sees the liability. She sees the payroll for a crew that's constantly turning over. She sees the cost of a single bad week, like when Sluicifer went down and Tony had to hotwire a generator 4 times more powerful than the one that failed just to get the plant running again. Then there's the legal exposure. In 2014, one of Tony's workers poured gasoline into a dredge pond and set it on fire. The Gold Rush cameras captured the whole thing. Tony standing in front of the blaze with his arms outstretched, shouting, "I told you guys, come hell or high water, didn't I?" The footage aired on Discovery Channel. Someone reported it. Tony and Tamarack Incorporated were charged under the Yukon Waters Act. The judge found them guilty and fined them a combined $31,000. The judge said Tony fully participated in this spectacle for the benefit of the cameras and noted that the violation would likely have gone unnoticed but for the airing of the television episode. Tony's response at the time: "Since I am the man running the show, I guess I should have been a little bit more and told him not to do it." It's kind of a joke gone bad, right? A $31,000 fine might not sound like much for a mining company generating millions per season, but the reputational damage and the difficulty in securing future water licenses? That's the real cost, and that's the kind of fallout Minnie has to navigate behind the scenes. "We poured a gallon, maybe a gallon and a half water. Somebody poured on the water and that man has been fined for that. And I guess I didn't stop the man since I'm the man running the show. I guess I should have been a little bit more and told him not to do it. While Tony moves on to his next cut, the loss of their daughter Jasmine in 1993 remains the deepest wound the Beets family rarely discusses publicly. But Tony's tattoo is always there, visible in nearly every close-up shot, a permanent reminder that the Klondike took something from this family that no amount of gold can replace, and through all of it, the loss, the legal battles, the crushing physical demands, the financial pressure of running an operation where a single bad week can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, Minnie stayed. She didn't leave when Jasmine died. She didn't leave when Tony's ambitions outstripped their budget. She didn't leave when the cameras showed up and turned their private family operation into primetime entertainment watched by millions. She didn't leave when Tony got fined $31,000 for a stunt. She probably would have stopped him if she'd been standing there. Tony himself said he's never retiring. Minnie backed that up in the same interview. I think we have the perfect life. But perfect and easy aren't the same thing. And nobody who has spent 40 winters in the Yukon, watching equipment fail, crew members come and go, and the ground give or hold back gold on its own terms, would ever call this life easy. Where she stands right now in season 16 of Gold Rush, the Beets operation is having one of its strongest seasons ever. Tony's 6,500-ounce goal, worth over $22 million, is within striking distance. By mid-season, he'd already passed the $11 million mark. His biggest weekly haul so far came in at $2.5 million, the largest single weigh of the season. It was a pretty damn good season. On the end of the day, it's a family business. Had all 3 kids listening, so it's pretty nice to see. Indian River's dual wash plant setup is running 24 hours a day, churning through pay at a record pace. The corner cut alone could hold an estimated $20 million worth of gold if the ground delivers. Kevin is in his second year as a mine boss at Scribner Creek, finding his footing with a new crew that includes veteran foreman Buzz Legal. Mike is battling to prove himself at Paradise Hill under constant pressure from Tony, who keeps pulling equipment and personnel for Indian River. Monica continues to run her operation with the quiet competence she inherited directly from Minnie, and now 18-year-old. Grandson Egan is stepping into the machinery, the third generation of Beets miners working the same Klondike claims. Minnie is still there, still managing the books, still controlling the purse strings, still the person Tony turns to when the numbers need to make sense, and at their age, Tony born in 1959, Minnie in 1960, the question of succession hangs over everything. Who takes the financial reins when Minnie steps back? Kevin handles the mechanical side. Mike runs dozers. Monica runs wash plants. But none of them have been trained to do what Minnie does, hold the whole thing together on paper. It's easy to overlook her. The cameras love Tony's outbursts and Parker's rivalries and Rick's comebacks, but strip all of that away and ask a simple question: who actually built this empire? Not just the mining, the family, the business structure, the financial discipline that kept a seasonal operation running for over 4 decades without going under. The answer has been sitting in the office at Paradise Hill the entire time. She just doesn't scream about it. You think Minnie Beets deserves more credit for the Beets empire than she gets on camera? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this story compelling, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. We'll see you in the next one.